get back there.
I felt like the stuff with Carlton hadn't gotten out a lot. I feel like we just haven't had a lot of conversations about the sellout, the Oreo discourse. I don't know what to call it. And so there's a couple things I felt like I wanted to talk about with that one. In looking, so some of the critiques were, not every critique is in good faith, but some of them was like, okay.
In other words, they don't fucking like what I have to say, so it's in bad faith. Mind you, this is the motherfucker who literally made a video about debate bros and how they use the term bad faith and all this other good shit. Right?
I want to say thank you to each and every one of my Patreons that help support the channel. I want to say, if you want to help support the channel, get this content to more people, hit that Patreon link, or go ahead and subscribe to me on Twitch. Thank you for watching the show and supporting, and here we go.
This is one of those videos, guys, where I'm going to have to ask for you to give me enough rope to motherfucking, let my point out. And if I end up saving myself or, not saving myself, you guys be the decide. Because I personally hate shit like this. And you'll understand why when it comes down to it in a minute. So I want to tell you guys something that you may actually be surprised to fucking hear. I woke up this morning, looked in the mirror, and realized, guys, I'm black. I know, shocking, right? Like, I did not realize that I was black. Now, I know you're probably thinking like, oh, Crimson, like, no. I just realized something that, I know, like, it was a shock to me. I had to come out to my parents and say, hey, mom, dad, like, I'm black. And they looked at me like, would you sit your black ass down and stop acting fucking crazy? I know, it's fucking crazy. So, here's the thing. And I make this in jest a little bit because, I'm somebody who grew up in a very, very bad neighborhood. Fucking grew up in the hood. If you know anything about Chicago and you know the Albert Gresham area, I grew up in that area. Now, I happened to grow up at the time of the age of the beginning age of the internet. I ended up going to a school in Chicago where it was as a magna high school, kids all over the city. I actually had interns downtown. I fucking moved to the suburbs for a little bit. I have lived the experience of living in the hood and interacting with people all across the city, across the state, and across the world. Crimson Davis Jr. But you never forget where you came from. And has it been times where I was growing up? Like when I was growing up, because I was a kid that wasn't into gangs. I was a kid that kind of still liked video games and anime and manga when I was younger. Did I have some of my blackness questioned? Yes, but like even the hoodest person had their blackness questioned. And actually raising a child that mostly grew up in the suburbs, you kind of deal with a lot of shit. You do kind of deal with people who she's dealt with the question of if she's black enough, and thankfully she grows up in the suburbs where it's a mixture of black people and white people and Hispanic and Asian, but it's always, were you black enough? And well, what gets me is and this is a lot of preamble to actually address this video, is this people who feel like they have to prove their blackness. And I'm saying, like, wait, what? Like, I've never tried to prove my blackness. Now, with older, have I just, like, become more comfortable with myself? Yeah, of course. But what gets me is people that have to prove their blackness. And they have to take steps to prove that they're black. Blickly black, black. And, like, people like this. We have F.D the Signifier. Now, you guys probably know him from blowing up really quickly with the whole, you know, the bread tube video that he did. And I actually watched him before that video. What kind of like soured me on him is not the video that he blew up about, but the video he did on fucking Inside with Bill Burr. And he started to exhibit some of those things where you get a lot of black content creators who, especially on BreadTube, like, yes, cool, it's great, but they start to fall in this trap of white supremacy this and, you know, black experience that, where it's just like, yeah, cool, we know that, but when you start making that your rallying cry, and you like, you start to make it where it's one of those things where you see those, you guys saw those videos. Here, let me see if I can actually find it. Of where we have those, let's see, open up a new tab. This shit right here. This shit right here. This shit was the most cringiest shit that I've ever seen. And if you saw this shit during the George Floyd protests, this was just motherfucking... No, this shit was stupid. This shit was stupid. It was cringe. It was so fucking cringe. And the reason why I was cringe is... You upset. Cool. Been upset with you. You were protesting for people's rights. Cool. So let's change the system. Don't do some performative shit. But I'm digressing. Let's get back to why FD feels that a fly in the milk. Shall we? All right, so here's a comment. Hi, FD. What you said about black parents need not to move to raise their kids in white suburbs has been living in my head since your video came out. That's my life. This type of shit, literally, I don't know what to say. If he even said some shit like this, why? Now, fuck the suburbs, and I say fuck the suburbs because if you ever watched the Echo Geckos of how the suburbs are killing us, you'll understand why I say fuck the suburbs. It's actually more costly to have a suburb, not to just the people that live there, but it's more costly to, you know, environmental, governmental, and, you know, humane services to have the suburbs because, you know, it's just a wealth trap. It's killing us through certain different things. Like, so yeah, fuck the suburbs. But to say you're not going to move to a better, affluent area, because it's mostly white. Like, oh, okay, let's get to see what this is about. Sounds like you have an echo chamber, my man. But let's go. Now, I didn't watch the video, but guess who has experience being a black boy? I don't know. Okay, yeah, sure. Let's go. Hold on. We didn't miss much. Give me a second.
Oreo discourse. I don't know what to call it. And so there's a couple things.
Let's get back there.
I felt like the stuff with Carlton hadn't gotten out a lot. I feel like we just haven't had a lot of conversations about the sellout, the Oreo discourse. I don't know what to call it. And so there's a couple things I felt like I wanted to talk about with that one. In looking, so some of the critiques were, not every critique is in good faith, but some of them was like, okay.
In other words, they don't fucking like what I have to say, so it's in bad faith. Mind you, this is the motherfucker who literally made a video about debate bros and how they use the term bad faith and all this other good shit. Right? One rule for me, but not for thee. Right? Okay. I'm sorry. Let's go.
Okay, if I'd have tried to be more clear, then this takeaway wouldn't have been possible. So I can understand that. Because people like you define sellout and stuff like that. And yeah, like I left a little too much of that in my own head, thinking that people would just get it because they get where I'm coming from. But not everybody's coming from the same standpoint and background. So first, I want to address calling parents who move their kids into all white areas sellouts. That was not what I wanted people to take away.
You know what? And you're right. You are right. It is an argument for reinvestment into neighborhoods, reinvestment into like building like one of my biggest things is actually I live in a neighborhood where so many abandoned buildings, so many abandoned homes, where it's just like being bought up by private real estate people and turned into like super rent control places, or in some places Airbnbs. But yeah, he's gonna argue that you shouldn't move out of the area to a more affluent area.
I don't think that you're automatically a sellout or some type of anti-black race trait or whatever if you live in an all-white area. You're the fly in the milk is the phrase I use a lot. Or if you move your kids to that area. I don't think that's necessarily the case.
Like, listen to how this just like degrading a fly in the milk. Oh, okay. Let's go.
So, and people brought up like sometimes it's like if you have a choice between being in like intense, poverty and lack in certain areas. I'm from the South Chicago suburbs. I'm not from the Wild Hunnets. Like,
so in other words, let's just explain this. There are hi, Chicago resident. There are parts of the suburbs, not the Wild Hundreds, because that's still kind of considered in the city. But there are parts in the south suburbs, and I don't know where he's at. I'm not even gonna try. In the south suburbs, where let's just say there are people that believe that they're better than the people that live in the city. I'm looking at you, Hazel Crest, Country Club Hills, Matson, South Village. Well, maybe not South Village. Richton Park. Because you got a little bit of money. you think you're oh, okay. Let's go.
Understand. I live in Atlanta. I don't live in Clayco, not Atlanta. You know, I don't live in the SWATs. I don't live in.
Yes. No. Actually, Cicero's. You may say Burbank. You know, Burbank was almost a sundown town. Shit. Kind of Chicago Ridge around his age, because I'm around his age. Chicago Ridge was kind of okay.
In certain parts of Decatur, you know, and I have the means to live uniquely. I have the means even before YouTube to, as much as I could, create a black enclave around my children that still had white people. I mean, my kids go to a mixed school.
Dude, you just arguing for fucking segregation. You are literally just arguing. We can go to school together, but I'm gonna live around my people. Dude, you arguing for segregation? Like, seriously, like. I heard a saying. In the South, it don't matter. It doesn't matter how high you get up. It matters where you live. In other words, you better stay on your side of town, boy. But you can have a business or some shit like that. But in the North, it don't matter where you live. It's it matters how high you get up. You can live in my neighborhood, but you ain't gonna be part of my group. Okay. Yeah, of course. Compton was bad. Like let's get back to the video.
But some people can't do that. Some people, it's like you get an apartment in the boondocks and you get out of, you know, the hood because that's overall a better situation. I fully get that, and I don't begrudge anybody for doing that. That's survival tactics, right? What I was talking about is when you have the means and you know, and when I said the phrase, you think the white man's ice is colder, right?
I don't even know how to deal with that. Like, really? Fucking really? I don't know how to deal with that. Do you think that people are actually moving to a place because I'm out the hood, so let's move around all white people for no reason other than I want to be around all white people? D-Roy might believe that shit, but do you really fucking believe that? Do you understand, FD? Like, how incredibly segregatory that sounds. You just spit, like, you guys heard the preamble. Well, I'm not saying that they're a traitor for going there, but if they go there, you know, yeah, they start thinking the white man ice is colder. Like, do you hear that shit, dog? Do you hear that shit? Okay. But BreadTube is so segregated. Like, debate bro's bad. Oh, okay.
Some people don't know any better, right? Because I was a teacher for 10 years, and I can tell you, most, like, pre-secondary education, after you get out of elementary school, everything else is whatever, to be honest with you. Like, there's some, and I know some people took that away, but other people, you know, being empathetic, I've never had my blackness questioned very much, maybe a little bit when I was, you know, very young. And I visited my cousins from, you know, really from the south side of Chicago, or hung out on the block at my grandmother's house.
And you see, and I'm going to say this, I'm going to actually get close up for this. This is the shit that I'm talking about. Now, I'm going to be very honest with you. Over the last year, we've seen so many people actually address like things like BreadTube or Debate Bro or streamer cultures. It's people like this that felt they weren't black enough. It's people like Professor Flowers, even to an extent Cat Black. Like, if you actually read her diatribe that she had, it's always these people who feel that they're not black enough. They have to show how blackety black they are. And I get it. If you're around a lot of people who are like, oh, you're one of the good ones, or you can't exhibit the behaviors that you think that you're supposed to exhibit because you see the behaviors on TV or out of some of your family members. You have to always be on your fucking P's and Q's. Yes, that may creep in that you may not feel that you're black enough. But to offer segregation and to say that somebody's a fly in the milk or you think somebody's ice is colder because you're overcompensating. I'm sorry. You sound like a fucking idiot. And for somebody who claims to be on the fucking left, you sound just as bigoted and prejudiced as anybody else. No, I gotta prove how black I am. This is fucking stupid. But let's let him continue.
And started using big words. I had a couple of those moments, but like I haven't since very young had my blackness challenge, right? People that know my real name. You want to go challenge my blackness too tough?
Oh, yeah, no. Come on, come at me, homie. Come at me, homie. This is another close-up. I am a 40-year-old man that still watches anime, reads manga legally, fucking draws, plays video games, fucking reads comics, or watches the videos of people read comics on YouTube. Yeah, okay. I'm not fucking acting. I'm gonna be me. But you're not gonna sit back. I'm not gonna sit back and come on here and be like, you question my blackness? You question. That's just like people say, you questioning my manhood? If you tell somebody you are something, you're not. I'm sorry. I don't have to sit back and say, oh no, I'm blackity black. Blackity black, black, black. It's stupid. It is a fucking show. You still have questions because as well as telling them that, you tell yourself that. Before anything, I'm Bryant. And then, like, I guess an artist, hedonist, artist again, commentary. But I don't sit back and say, guys, I'm black. That sounds stupid. I don't sit around and say, guys, I'm a heterosexual male that's cis. No, I'm fucking Crimson. I'm fucking Brian. That's it. My identity, or the identity that you see, is not who I am. I'm me. And I know, I get it. There are people who have an easier time fighting, have a harder time fighting that battle than what I do, both because of societal pressures and another reason because I just really don't give a damn. But I don't sit back and have to reinforce the shit that I like to reinforce, or I have to reinforce about my identity. I'm me. I'm sorry. And it's not been a fucking easy journey. It's not. Right now, one of the surprising things that I fucking actually learned is that I don't have to put on a show for the women that I'm trying to date. They just like, oh, you're you. Why put on a fucking show? But people like this, they have to put on the show because they black, blickety black. But let's continue.
But I can imagine, I have a cousin who's from, way out away from black folks, Illinois. And that was a significant point of contention for him for most of his life. And so, that there's hypervigilance there, right? And because, as I said in the video, being labeled a sellout or Oreo is one of the more like hurtful labels to get as a black person. I don't know if there's too many worse things that you can be.
How about shiftless, lazy, subhuman? Like, those to me would seem like a little bit more hurtful. How about criminal? Like that, like, to me, I just wouldn't want to seem like nobody should call me a thug. Like, because I'm not a thug. But saying that you're a sellout or Oreo or any of that other shit, how? dude, that's your hang up, not mine. I don't give a fuck. Like, I still hang out with who I want to hang out with. People want to hang out with me. I don't wear my blackness as a shield or as a coat. Just when I wouldn't wear my fucking identity as a cis man as a coat. It's just me. But you have to, because you don't have a personality outside of it. But let's go.
Be called as a black person than a sellout or Oreo. So I can imagine that some people are hypervigilant to that critique. So I want to be clear that if you are moving away from lack or moving for better opportunities, legitimately, nothing wrong with that. I would advise against it at all costs.
Why? This shit doesn't make any sense. Why? Maybe I know he gives a reason, but it's a fucking stupid reason. But let's listen to shit.
I would advise if you have an option between sending your kids to a mediocre black school or the highest achieving white school in the state, the mediocre black school is where you should send your black child.
Parenting advice. Let's hear that shit again.
Away from lack or moving for better opportunities, legitimately, nothing wrong with that. I would advise against it at all costs. I would advise if you have an option between sending your kids to a mediocre black school or the highest achieving white school in the state, the mediocre black school is where you should send your black child. And this is not on some black separatist, black nationalist stuff.
That's what the shit sound like. That's what the shit sounds like. Like, I have no words. You are literally saying, like, well, it won't be good if a black child gets around white kids because they won't know their identity, so they need to stay with their own people. That is some separatist shit. That's segregation shit. But let's continue.
Which is the other thing I saw floating out there. It's not on some segregationist shit. It's because, and there's research on this, it is better for your children. Period. It is better for your children to not be the only black person that they know. And quick, type F in the chat if you are the only black person. Is it F? Should I say F? Whatever. Type F in the chat if you've had that only black person experience and it sucks and you'd have traded it in for the hood any day. Not the hood. You get my point.
My man, there's still dirt underneath you. If you keep digging, you're gonna start scraping bedrock. Where's the studies? Please, citation needed. Oh, live in abject poverty because you have to keep your blackness or get more of a better opportunities. Because we know that there's studies of your zip code that you live in determines your future wealth. But man, like, fuck, yeah. Oh no, so, like, wait, what? Wait, oh, okay.
I put a book in the description. It's called The Conspiracy to Destroy Black Boys. And it goes to everybody, Mexican.
Like, what is this? That fucking, like, to read the high shit where it's like butt breaking and shit. Like, this is a dude who literally made fun of the movie Butt Breaking that is using some of the same fallacious arguments that motherfucker did. Oh, wow. Okay.
If you are discernibly racialized as anything other than white, whether that be Black, Asian, Mexican, Indian, and you are the only racialized person within a space, that is not a fun experience. Just like if you were, just like the one or two white dudes that, you know, might be in a black community or a Mexican community.
So here's a fun fact. Let's tear down the systems of racism. Like, I know FD thinks that he only does shit as an entertainer. So he doesn't feel that he actually moves, you know, conversation about how people interact, except when he does and he feels that his points are more important. But like imagine him as an entertainer giving advice of where you should raise your children, right? But he's just an entertainer.
Othering experience where you are the minority is not easy. It's tough. Getting back to the point of that statement was that a lot of black people, and this is generational now, this is something that has been happening for generations. You see the type of dysfunction that happens in black communities because of, you know, insert numerous reasons here. You can go back and watch the video about Robert Moses to get a reason why. So you see that dysfunction, you see the outcomes, and you say, okay, the outcomes over here are better. So let me take my black ass over to this white ass area. And like, it makes sense on paper. So
now, notice he's only making an argument. He's only making the argument from a point of racialization. Never is he making a point about affluence. Never is he making a point about a better area to live. Never is he making this point. It's about race. Because that's what's important. But racism doesn't need to exist.
So you see that. So when that happens,
of course he comes from privilege. Of course he comes from privilege. Fuck. He said it. He came from the south suburbs. It's nothing but privilege in the south suburbs. Especially around the time that he grew up.
It's just,
unless he grew up in Harvey, he grew up in places of privilege.
It can be very traumatizing to the kids. And they don't necessarily get a better education. They get a, maybe on average, better education just based on the lack of certain barriers. If those barriers are not there, which they very well can be, because rates of disciplinary action against black children in general, and, you know, test scores don't match. Like if you can go, like there's a site called Great Schools, but really any state will have some type of school report card. Idrisu Siedu is asking about African-American immigrant version of black experience. She stirs up some real stuff internally. I don't know whose video you're talking about though. I know Julesy dropped a video around there, but I'll try to come back to that. But yeah, it's just not good for the kids. It's not. Like there's probably some statistics that show like a numbers. Like
wait, he just said it's not good, but he's not citing any statistics, any fucking facts. It's just a fucking opinion. Oh wow. Okay, so Dre actually said it. My friend told me about stories how hard his family worked to move out of Flint and all the bullet holes they found in the walls when they moved their furniture. Nobody wants to live like that. Yeah, no, he's like, yeah, no, because reasons. Because reasons. You need to stay with black people because blackness and shit like that.
Maybe there's some test scores, maybe there's some socioeconomic outcomes that make you look better, and I'm sure there is, and partially to an extent because if you got the money to move into elite all-white areas, you probably have the money to provide your kid with certain resources that will guarantee their financial, economic, and educational outcomes be higher. But
oh no, it's even though like it will set them up for a better life down the path, but because you lose your racial identity, it's bad.
Overall, that experience is generally unhealthy and it's unwise, but a lot of black folks, you know, like I said, think the white man's ice is colder. You know, it goes back to that black excellence.
But he's not a racist, guys. He thinks racism is bad. Some reason.
Conversation from the Obama video. You know, you think the white man's ice is colder. You think that the only way to get access to certain power dynamics and frameworks and networks is to immerse yourself into white communities, into white frameworks. And no, it doesn't really work.
Right. So let's actually look up something. Um, and I'm on Wikipedia this shit. Of course, Flint doesn't have still have plain water. Because it's out of sight, out of mind. This is what I always want to point out to people who say, stay in the black neighborhoods and, get your culture and shit like that. And if you're familiar with history, you know this shit. The Red Summer was a period from late winter through early autumn of 1919, during which white supremacist terrorism and racial riots took place in more than 36 cities across the United States, as well as one rural county in Arkansas. The term Red Summer was coined by civil rights activists and authors James Wilton Johnson, who had been employed as a field secretary for the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. Since 1916 in 1919, he organized peaceful protests against racial violence which had occurred that summer. In most instances, attacks consist of white on black violence. However, numerous African Americans also fought back, notably in Chicago, Washington, D.C., race riots, which resulted in 38 and 15 deaths, respectively, along with more injuries and extensive property damage in Chicago. Still, the highest number of fatalities occurred in the rural area around Elaine, Arkansas, which estimated 100 to 250 black people and 5 white people were killed in an event now known as the Elaine Massacre. Anti-black riots developed from a variety of post-World War I social tensions greatly related to demobilization of both black and white members of the United States Army forces following World War I, in an economic slump and increased competition in the job and housing markets between ethnic European Americans and African Americans at a time that would have been marked by labor unrest, for which certain industrials used black people as strike breakers during the inflammation of resentment of white workers. Most of this shit happens, and this is what I want to tell to the people who are black separatists, people who are black supremacists. We tried the shit of living separate. We tried the shit. You know what happened? They burnt down towns because it was easier to other people that you don't have to sit back and look at every day and actually have to deal with and actually depend on in living in the same area. I live in Chicago, a very segregated city. And it is easy to other people when you don't live next to them. Like, come on. We have the Tulsa riots. We have all of this evidence that, well, if black people just stay around other black people, then it wouldn't be a problem and it's better for kids. God, this shit is so fucking stupid. And it's heralded by people who claim to be blackity black, black, black. As I always say, Fred Hampton literally had so much success with getting everybody breakfast. That it forced the national policy of free breakfast to kids. And it wasn't, whoa, black power systems and white power systems, and you can compete and no. You don't beat white capitalism with black capitalism. You beat it with socialism. But let's continue.
You don't get
and like Dre said, people who interact with more people of other racial groups for some reason are less racist. But I don't know why, because you have to deal with people. But let's go.
Actually, if you look at the most powerful black people in the country, where did they go to college? Put a HBCU in the chat if you know where some of the more powerful black people in the country went to college at. They did not go to only Harvard and Duke or whatever. HBCUs have their own issues with elitism a lot, but
so it sounds like it's a problem with elitism. I don't fucking. All right, let's go. It's almost over.
I'm in Georgia. Stacey Abrams running for governor. That's Spelman. You got a freaking, even though she's doing an awful job representing, but goddamn, it's no disrespect. I mean, no specific disrespect to her in general, just the station. What is our vice president's name? Kamala. Thank you. Fuck. Kamala went to Howard. If you just go on LinkedIn in certain spaces, not everywhere, right?
And yet, low key, Barack Obama is still running the Democratic Party. That's why. That's why we have this agreeability politics with, no, this shit is stupid. All right, let's go.
But you go on LinkedIn here in Atlanta, you trying to find somebody black with some nice credentials and behind their name, you're going to 7 times out of 10 see an HBCU next to their name.
I mean, one of my heroes, and not really heroes, but somebody that I admire, brother Professor Cornel West. He teaches Harvard. He's teaching at Princeton. Are you gonna disrespect that shit? But no, it's about being blackity black.
Kamala went to Howard, Will. She went to Cal, I think, for law school. She went to Howard for undergrad. And that undergrad HBCU experience, it does something for her.
He just disproved his own point. Oh my God. He just disproved his own point. Okay, fuck. This shit is stupid.
It does something for you. It costs a lot, but it does something for you. So, yeah, I just want to make that clear that there's no automatic sellout, right? The whole point of that section was to really call in to this particular black experience and to validate it as a black experience. That was the goal. I don't and I feel like I've been pretty consistent with this over a lot of content, and I've had conflict with different people over different ways in which it manifests, because that's why we have the whole biracial discourse that I'm not going to do tonight.
Wait, what biracial discourse? Wait, what? Oh no! Fuck! What biracial discourse? Is that the reason why he don't like Obama? Because he's half white. Oh no. Oh, okay.
But the whole point of that was to call in those people and to validate that as a black experience, because black is not, to me, a black experience is just to experience the world when you're racialized as black. And even if you do a bunch of bullshit that I don't fuck with, which is not automatic if you're in the suburbs, I want to be clear on that. But
because he grew up in the suburbs.
Even if you're Candace Owens, you are still black and having a black experience, and there's insight and value to understanding that from that standpoint. Does that make sense? That was the whole point. And furthermore, plenty of black folks in those suburban fly on the milk experiences, they have they struggle.
Why does he call him? Why do you use that term, fly on the milk? This is so derogatory. But debate bros bad. They mean. Debate bros mean. Okay.
Ways with identity, because they, for the same reason I talked about with Carlton, a lot of them are lucky and have an immersion experience. It's happening a lot in social media, where black youth are able to collect together more than I have so much jealousy in my heart for some of y'all young folks
And there we have it. Jealousy. That's all it is. It's jealousy. But let's let them finish. I'm going to let you finish, dog.
And the fact that y'all are building community via social media, right? And somebody just pointed out, like, and sellout, like being from the hood and speaking the lingo and doing all the things does not guarantee you are not a sellout. Ben Carson, what's the brother, the Clarence Thomas. I'll think.
All right. So I don't know. This is the shit like okay, not bragging. All right. I date women. Like, I date women who live in the city. I date women who lived in the burbs. I get it. It is hard being one of the few black people in a white area. But only immature, I need to prove who I am people would actually say, I'm going to give up what I'm doing to live in a fucking hood. Only immature, only insecure people would say that shit. I can't believe you would turn an economic issue purely to a racial issue. Like, I get economic and racism actually work, but this shit is unbelievably reductive. You are literally saying, nah, just go to a mediocre black school because that way your fifis don't get hurt by people calling you not being black enough. I just don't know. I can't understand that shit. I don't know. Maybe you guys can actually understand it because I can't understand it. As somebody who grew up in a hood, and when I got opportunities to fucking leave because it was a nicer neighborhood, because I didn't have to deal with so much shit, do you think I did not take it? My daughter now goes to a Catholic school. Now, oh God, fuck, I'd hate the Catholic school, but at 14, at 15, she didn't already resolve the issue of quote unquote not being black enough. But these grown ass people have this issue. I just don't know what the fuck is wrong with them. I just don't. Yeah, limiting your kids' opportunities for reasons. But remember, racism bad, Joe. Racism bad. But anyway, guys, I don't know what else to say. Do the whole YouTube like, share, and subscribe, and all that other good shit. I'm about to cut this shit off because it's and this is a shit that I have to really and it's not the whole I'm in the middle, I'm in the center. It's no, you're just advocating for the same segregation and racism that so many people are arguing for. But it's okay because he's black.
If I gave myself the power